I'm Pat Gallen. Welcome to a Gallen of Questions. We're going to treat this episode like a Super Bowl preview. Obviously, Chiefs 49ers coming up. We'll look back at the Eagles season and how terrible and disgusting it was for a lot of people. We'll also talk a little bit about radio in Philadelphia with my next guest who's here with me in studio, a good friend of mine who I've known for a long time. We used to work together in radio. It's Jon Marks. Johnny's here. Hey, buddy.
I can't wait for. Am I getting Gallen of Questions?
You are. Actually, yes. Here
Where
it is right here. It's filled to the brim with questions. Is that you're excited about
it's
that?
It's the only reason I came. I would have told you no. This is very inconvenient to drive all the way down here.
It is.
I'm just kidding.
Your hour-long drive to answer questions out of
Wasn't
a can?
bad. It was 38 minutes.
Oh, that's actually
not
that
bad. It was a good commute from Collegeville, so I'm ready.
I'll make sure on the way back it's much longer for you.
Okay, thank you.
So welcome. I appreciate you coming in. You've talked about this at length, I'm sure. Not with me, but you just left WIP not that long ago. How's life on the other side of sports talk radio?
Man, it's awesome. It is.
Yeah.
Not that you don't miss it,
Yeah.
because, I mean, you do miss it. When things happen, and you know this with TV, you just cover it a little bit different way, but like when something big happens in sports, when the Eagles season falls apart, you are trained to be like, all right, what am I going to say?
Yeah.
What guests can we get? Now you kind of just enjoy it or hate it as a sports fan, right? So when the Eagles fall apart, I don't have to worry about going ballistic the next day on the air. I can just kind of shut it down, and I don't have to spend 4 hours yelling about it and hearing people mad. So that's good and bad because you miss it.
Yeah.
You miss it. You miss being there at the end of the season. But I have a 2-year-old. My daughters are 8 and 6, second and first grade, and my 2-year-old. And the hours that I worked, not late hours like you, but just late enough to where,
right?
Yeah, just late enough to where I really like my 2-year-old just started going to bed now at like 7:30 instead of 7. So for the first 2 years of her life, I didn't even see her, but when I got home, so giving her baths, being dinner every night, going to basketballs right now, so going to basketball practice, going to the games or whatever. I've really kind of jumped right into it, and it's been awesome.
So it's obviously a change in your life, and a lot of people look at it like you had the #1 show in Philadelphia, hard to leave that behind. How difficult of a decision was that to make? Because I know it's something that you were grappling with for a little while.
Not as difficult as you might think. Now, I just had last year the most successful year financially and professionally just as a show in my life.
Yeah.
So you're walking away from that. I'm not Barry Sanders. I don't have like Calvin Johnson. I don't have the bank.
Right.
Really have any bankroll. But like it just, for a lot of different reasons, it felt like it was the right time. And I was really, even looking back on it now, because man, it was so hard. I knew I was going to say goodbye. WIP wanted me to say goodbye on the air. They wanted me to do it right. And I appreciated that. It's also really difficult because you don't know, like, almost in hindsight, I wish I just could have said goodbye, but the audience deserved more than that,
course.
Right?
They almost become like a member of their family in some ways.
Agree, and you're a radio fan. I'm a radio fan. Yeah. When shows, for whatever reason, people are let go or they retire or they just move on, and you really love that show, it sucks, right? Yeah. So I know Ike and Spike and Jack are going to do a great job going forward with their new show. Yeah. But for me, for a lot of different reasons, it just felt like, you know what? The movement away from radio, the fact that terrestrial radio is what it is right now, the digital landscape that's out there, I just feel like I'm ready to try something new.
Well, I don't know if a lot of people realize this. I got my start in sports talk radio, and my first radio station was 97.3 ESPN down in Atlantic City with Mike Gill. He's the first person that got me on the air. But you were a huge part of me getting back into Philly in radio because I would feel like I pestered you all the time. Give Matt Nahagy and my my demo, and finally got hired as first the Phillies reporter and then as an update anchor. And I was doing that in the mornings with Mike and Mike, and then eventually got my own show. It was me and Martucci on the weekends. So you were key in getting me into Philly, which then led to this job. So you've had your hand in my career, and I appreciate that.
Well, so you owe me something more than just
checks in the mail.
Right.
Checks in the mail.
Well, no, I actually don't remember you being 97.3. I know Mike Gill
I was
very
down
well.
there for about almost 2 years.
Yeah, it's a minor. I don't want to say a minor league because that, but it's a feeding system for up here. There's been a lot of guys who've been down there. I think Joe Giglio was down there.
We were there at the same time.
Were you really?
Yeah.
When you're trying to get into a door at a TV station, radio station, whatever, if you don't know somebody on the inside to help you it's I don't want to say it's impossible. It's not impossible. It's very difficult. So to have somebody, and the other thing is, if you would have sucked, I wouldn't have supported you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You know, you obviously had potential that I saw, so of course I'm going to give somebody that has potential and works hard. And all I did was just tell Matt Nahagian, the program director, hey, this guy's great.
Well, what are you working on now, just to let the people know?
So I'm doing a YouTube show, which is every Monday through Friday. It's 9 o'clock. It's an hour or so
after the kids are in bed. You got 9 o'clock.
That's why it's 9 o'clock, because the kids are in bed by 8:05, 8:10. If the baby's carrying on, I'll be out there by 8:30, 8:40.
Yep.
And then I jump down at 9 o'clock, and I'm really just trying to get it rolling. It's the world's so different. Everything's so different from when we started doing this, and I'm trying to.
The old men in here. It's so different.
I know it is.
Talk about the Super Bowl coming up, Chiefs, Niners. This topic has kind of been like circling around in the sports department, but who do you root for? Is it an easy answer? Are you just rooting for the Chiefs because everyone hates the Niners?
It's an easy answer for sure. What that defense and Steve Spagnuolo did in the AFC Championship game, I love Spags. That wasn't just a game where Pat Mahomes went out there and was slicing and dicing and threw the ball over the place and Kelsey celebrating. That defense is great.
It really hasn't been that kind of year either.
The offense has struggled. I mean, look at the Eagles game.
Yeah,
Scanling drops that ball that could have won the game for him, and then he seals the AFC Championship game with a catch. So we shouldn't be surprised with Andy Reid.
Right.
But that defense has been so good, and I think it's a really, really good matchup. Two really good teams.
On the Niners side, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Kittle, Ayuk, Brock Purdy, an insane level of talent. But then they have Kyle Shanahan as their head coach, and you just kind of never know what you're going to get from him, which I love going into a game like this where you've got the guy who's done it in Andy and then the guy who wants to be like Andy and just can't seem to get over that hump.
Yeah, I was actually in real time wondering what you were going to say about Shanahan, because it like you watch his teams and you're like, wow, like what great offensive scheme! Like man, but then you watch him other times, like what is he doing? Mm-hmm. He's a bonehead. They were behind 24-7 in the NFC Championship game, and they're shooting the sideline before halftime, and it's like I'm laughing at him. It's like Shanahan, but they're talented, and anybody out there that's calling Brock Purdy a game manager or anything like that, like Brock Purdy can play, and it's more than just arm strength and skill. I think mentally, the kid is far above where most of the quarterbacks in this league at this point.
Do you love the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce situation here?
Oh boy, no, not anymore.
You're over it now.
I mean, it's. I thought it was.
We have to discuss it because you're going to see her a little bit.
You think
in the next?
You think she's going to be out there?
I think so. Why wouldn't she be?
Yeah, and I'm being facetious.
Okay.
Of course she's going to be out there. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously been a huge storyline, and I thought for a while it sucked the life out of him. There was talk of him retiring.
He did seem a little in the middle of the season.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold on.
Malaise had come over
like
him.
He was in love. You know what happens when you get that real Amazon? I've been married for 10 years, so I haven't had that Amazon love. I still have it. But
good catch there, John.
And sometimes it sucks the life out of you when you're like, oh, I'm in love. And I swear I thought that's what was going on. But he rebounded. I mean, when's the last time we saw something like this big of a cultural phenomenon? Michael Jackson in the 80s, and she might even be, not saying she's bigger than Michael Jackson, but that tour that she went on, every city was swept up in this Taylor Swift thing for 2 weeks before and after. No one saw anything like this before.
It's like Beatles almost, like coming over from England.
It is. It's that big. Mm-hmm. It's a $1 billion tour.
How about the game itself? What do you think happens?
I like the Chiefs in a 27-24 type game. I just like Kansas City's defense. I love their secondary. And
them being an underdog is like a little bit of a slap in the face to them, and you know that they're going to use that as a little bit of bulletin board.
It fits perfectly into what Andy and what they They have they're just enough of an underdog to where they can use it, right? There were two evenly matched teams. Honestly, Mahomes hadn't played all that well this year, so he's got to at least have a B game. If he's tossing interceptions up there, they're going to lose. I don't think Mahomes comes out and throws for 370 yards and 4 touchdowns. I don't think it's that kind of game.
Sure.
He can't hurt him with turnovers, and that's something he's done this year.
He has done that, and that's why the defense has been so important for the Chiefs. And I've always been, I know that it's like he's been gone now for a decade. I've always been an Andy Reid fan. Even going back, I knew the time was right for him to move on, but I've always rooted for him from afar because I've always found him to be an offensive genius. Like, no matter what, he figured, look at the guys he's working with at wide receiver. It hasn't been pretty this year. Dropped a lot of passes. It was a mess. People were upset. Mahomes was upset. But he takes what he has and he creates something with it. And there are very few coaches that can do it, especially at that level.
Yeah, I remember talking to after he left Philly, I remember talking to a couple of, and I won't even mention their names, respected NFL analysts that all thought that his time had come and gone. And he would go to another team, but he had just lost it. He was one of those coaches where you need to reinvent yourself, and they didn't know if he could do it. And man, has he ever done it. He's turned himself into arguably certainly a top 5 NFL
3 coach.
He wins another Super Bowl. You're talking about a top 3 NFL coach. And you can look at Bill Belichick and say, all right, well, what did he do without Tom Brady? Now, he's going to have Mahomes, and that's going to be his Tom Brady. But there's no doubt the imprint that is on this league and is on the Chiefs it's Andy Reid.
And he's done it with other quarterbacks. It's not just one guy who's a superstar. And he also, not saying that Mahomes didn't have the talent, because clearly it was there, but Andy Reid saw that in him enough to take him with the 10th pick, where everyone was like, oh, we don't even know if this guy's a first-round pick.
So if Pat Mahomes gets drafted to the Jets like Darnold did and like Zach Wilson did, is he the same Pat Mahomes that he is right now?
Let's talk about the state of the Eagles. And they've got 2 new coordinators. Nick barely keeping his job. How do you see this moving forward? Because I feel like Nick Sirianni has a really difficult job ahead of him. If he slips up even a little bit, they're going to be all over him like vultures.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, because now what's everybody going to say about Nick Sirianni? Well, what is he doing?
Right.
Because they're bringing in an offensive coordinator that is going to run his offense and not Nick Sirianni's offense. Nick Sirianni, who is an offensive coach and came here as being an offensive coordinator, now it looks like he's just a pencil pusher. But, I guess this really now becomes all about winning, losing, and strategical errors and things like that. I'm assuming he's taking his cues from people in the booth about going for 2 or when he should go for it on 4th down, et cetera. Yeah. Like a lot of it. By the way, like most NFL coaches are being told right now. So it really is like the sole focus is on him, and if they don't win, it's going to be his fault. Now, with that being said, Jalen Hurts has got to play better. Jalen Hurts is sensing pressure that's not there.
Right.
And he's not sliding up in the pocket. He's sensing the pressure and skating or running and throwing with no confidence from the pocket.
I've always wondered if it's him sensing pressure that's not there, or it's his immediate thought. It's just in his DNA that once that happens, he has always been the fastest guy, and he can take off and make something happen from it, so that he hasn't really had to learn to step up and use the pocket to his advantage.
So I think last year, late in the season in the playoffs, he showed that he can play from the pocket.
Yeah.
I was shocked. Now 2022, when I say last season, 2022, I was shocked how much he developed as a pocket passer, because that was something he didn't do before. You had said sense pressure, roll out to the right, sense pressure, roll out to the left, run, right? Like take away his left. They did it with Michael Vick. Like Ike Reese and Jim Johnson and those Eagles defenses wanted to force him away from because he was a left-handed quarterback, wanted to force him to the right because he couldn't throw as well, and tried to keep him in between the tackles. So what happens? Defenses come up with a way to play Jalen Hurts, and they struggled with it this year.
Do you like the moves? Kellen Moore, Vic Fangio, does it matter?
Defense, he'll be an upgrade, but it doesn't matter unless you improve the personnel. Offensively, I love the move until I don't love the move.
Right.
I haven't kept track of Kellen Moore and how great of a play caller he is. I'm sure if he was here, we'd be complaining about him.
Sure. Yeah, probably. But they did. I mean, with the Cowboys, they were number 1 in yards twice. Like, he's got some ideas.
Experienced play caller. That's what they needed.
And a young, experienced play caller.
Yes.
But then you got to worry. he has a good year, he's probably gone in a year, as he's
Yeah.
going to be a head coach somewhere.
Well, I know he's been sniffed around at being a head coach, but you're right. If he comes in and he fixes what was wrong with the Eagles last year, he's certainly going to be looked at.
The only reason you're here is for a Gallen of Questions. So should we get to that? Are you excited about that? It goes quick. 20 minutes already?
Now,
About that?
does
18
that have a
minutes?
sponsor, the Gallon?
Not yet, but if anyone would like to.
MAB Paints, is that still
Ooh,
a thing?
that's a good one. Sherwin-Williams.
Sherwin.
Throw it on the bottom here. All right. Hey, why don't you pick the first one? We'll see what's in there. No, you read
Oh,
it.
I read
Yeah,
it.
You're a radio guy. Done a
Best
read.
tasty cake.
That's the first one you got.
I mean, you can't go wrong with the crimpet, the classic butterscotch crimpet.
The butterscotch crimpet. Yeah, we
Because
had those. My dad loved those.
I was at the Tasty Cake Studios with WIP for a long time, so we would get an abundance of tasty cakes.
I've always been a big jelly crimpet fan. I know that's sort of not
Not
everyone's
as
into
popular,
that.
but
Yeah.
I could go for a jelly
or a
crimpet.
coffee cake.
Oh, the coffee cakes are
Coffee
tremendous.
cake's great. I don't eat them anymore, but
They have these big
I'll be
ice
tasty cake.
Not the rectangle pie, but the big. It's almost like an oval frosted pie, which are unbelievable.
I don't know that one.
Oh, they're so terrible.
You have 3 daughters. Best thing about being a girl dad.
Oh man, God, did they? I mean, I don't even know. I mean, you have the boy.
Yeah, but the girls seem.
Yeah, no, they. I know my oldest is going to take care of me when I'm older. You can already
That's
tell.
good.
It's so weird how I can already tell with an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old, each of their roles.
Yep.
My 6-year-old's probably going to live in California when she's in her 20s, being an engineer, and my daughter's going to be stay at home and she's going to take care of dad.
There you go.
So
that's
a
nice.
good
All right. Let's see here. You're stuck on an island with one Philly athlete. Who would you want it to be?
Jason Kelsey would be too easy to say.
Yeah. That would be a good time.
Jalen Hurts wouldn't talk to you at all. Joel Embiid is probably too tall. Oh, let's just screw the microphone up there. Maybe a flyer.
A flyer?
Well, like
Talking about not talking to you.
So I've always thought that, and you know this, when you interview players from each sport, like baseball players tend to kind of be a little bit more pricklish than.
Yeah, can be.
Right, basketball players are cool. Football players understand the business, and
Yeah.
hockey players are just, you could go have a beer and a sandwich with them.
That's true.
I just don't know any of the Flyers players to say. A Flyers player is
A
what I would
Flyers
say, yes.
player is the answer.
Tortorella.
Correct. Oh, yeah. That would last a couple weeks. Sneakers, hat, or jersey? Pick one.
Sneakers.
You're a sneaker
Sneakers,
guy?
hat, and then jersey.
Okay.
And it's a jersey. I only own one jersey. I own a Steve Jeltz jersey that I bought off of eBay.
Oh, wow.
And
you still wear it?
An AJ Brown jersey. I do. I wore it all
You
through
got that?
the.
Yeah, I've got the Goddard right here.
Oh yeah, got it to go on.
Greatest living athlete in our city.
Greatest living athlete in our city. Oh man. Mike Schmidt.
Okay, that's a good answer. You lived in Hawaii for a
I did.
while. How many years?
2.
2 years. Best and worst thing about it?
Best thing is the weather and the beaches. The worst thing is the epidemic of ice, what they call, it's like meth.
Oh,
in Hawaii, and they have a real serious problem with it.
No way.
So
I
yeah,
did
like
not even know
that. Yeah, that, and then you have something called island fever, where you literally once it hits, you're like, I got to get out of here.
Oh, okay. And then you know you're on an island.
Yeah.
Weirdest interview you've ever had?
Well, I hung up on Bob Costas once, which I've
Vaguely remember that.
yeah, he was he threw out a first pitch at a St. Louis Cardinals game, and it was a bad first pitch, so he demanded a redo, which I thought was just the it was like just so weak. It's like that's your first pitch, you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
But no, he was not having it. And Matt Nahagian, our program director, brought him on, and all of a sudden he's on the hotline. Bob Costas. I didn't ask for him, so I don't like him anyway. And I tried to have fun with it about it. And he wouldn't. And then Sean Brace asked him if the Taney girl was the best athlete he's ever seen.
Oh, Monet.
Monet.
We have a picture, by the way. Me, you,
did you see me put it out on?
Devon, and Monet Davis. No.
You didn't see me put it out?
No.
Yeah, I put it out.
Oh,
I
did
actually
you?
have it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Bob Costas,
Find
who's
that.
like Mr. Olympic. You think Monet Davis is the best female athlete he's ever seen? He's like, Nadia Comaneci. And he started rattling off
very Bob
every
Costas.
Yes,
Yeah.
every female athlete that was better, and I hung up on him.
By the way, the best thing about working in radio was and he used to work here, the Todd Quinones drop. Love that drop. Do you remember that? Todd Quinones.
Todd Quinones, he owned his what do you call that at the end? When you say your name.
Oh, your sig out.
Your sig out?
Yeah.
He loved the sig out. Because
did.
he even put the Quinones.
He did. It was awesome. A couple more. Favorite non-Philly athlete of all time?
I was always Barry Sanders. You'll see a lot of Lions fans that are outside Detroit. Probably not anymore, but we're specifically because of Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Same thing with Randall Cunningham. You're a lot of people that love Randall and became Eagles fans. Barry Sanders.
Mustard or mayo?
On what?
On anything. Which one do you prefer?
Well, I mean, I like ham and cheese and salami. I love mustard on that.
Okay.
I go a little bit. I would say
go.
mustard. I don't really like mayo, but I can go
There you
light
go.
mayo.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Wait,
Beach.
Get through all these. Start bench cut. Randall, Jalen, Donovan. Start bench cut.
I'm cutting Jalen.
Cutting Jalen.
Just because I love Randall.
You love Randall, so
Yeah.
you'd start Randall?
I would start Donovan.
You would start
'Cause
Donovan.
I have to do a mix of success
Okay.
and like personal affection. And I loved Randall, but he didn't have the success that Donovan
Sure.
did. And I like Donovan probably better than I like Jalen.
Okay, we got through them all. Last one is, what's one piece of advice you'd give your 18-year-old self? Don't do it!
Started your career earlier.
That's a good
Get your
point.
act together earlier. I was in my mid-20s still trying to figure out what I was doing.
That's life. You're
I
doing a
know.
great job, too, John.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, my friend. Good to see you.
Thank you. This was fun.
That was quick.